It is like the morning mist that accumulates on the valley floor before sunrise. Long before anyone opens their door, long before anyone steps outside, dewdrops decorate the ground, the air changes noticeably, nature quietly prepares for a new day. Just before a real awakening begins, the same anticipation can be felt in the air of your life, as if the world is holding its breath, as if it has sensed the coming change before anyone else. At that moment, the weight in the air is not a burden, but a sacred expectation. Write 44 in the comments. Now don't just be a spectator, be a part of the story. With your support, we will become a giant family of 5,000 people. Subscribe now, turn on notifications and join us. Because as grace descends silently into place, the peaceful weight of a new beginning settles in. It's a lot like the way morning mist gathers in a low valley before the sun rises. Long before anyone steps outside or opens a window, the dew is already forming, the air shifting, nature quietly preparing for the dawn. In much the same way, before any true awakening takes hold in your life, there's a sense that the very air is holding its breath, as if the world itself knows change is coming before you ever do. Something in the atmosphere gets heavy, not with burden but with holy anticipation, the weight of blessings settling into place. Sometimes, you feel it as a gentle stirring, a quiet urging in your spirit that tonight will be different, that you are on the cusp of something bigger than you've ever known. It isn't thunder, and it's not a trumpet blast. It's more like the slow, steady swell of a river after weeks of steady rain, the kind that doesn't rush in all at once, but rises almost imperceptibly, ready to change the landscape when the time is right. Only those who are paying attention, who are listening for the sacred and watching for the signs, will notice the shift. There is a pressure, but it's not the kind that crushes. It's the kind that prepares, like a potter shaping clay or a farmer tending soil before planting. The spirit nudges, get ready. You might not see anything with your natural eyes, but you sense it with your heart. Your soul knows that heaven is up to something, and it's calling you to pay attention. The rest of the world may go on as usual, missing the miracle in the making, but the chosen always feel the first hint of dawn before the sky changes color. You've probably had moments where you just couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to shift, that God was moving in the background of your story. It might come as a sleepless night, a stirring during prayer, a heaviness that isn't sorrow but sacred waiting. These are the early warnings of destiny, the gentle alarms of the Spirit, signaling that you've stepped into a season of divine orchestration. People around you may not sense a thing. They go about their days, unaware that the ground beneath their feet is quietly shifting. But you, because you're attuned to the things of God, because you've learned to listen to that still, small voice, you sense it. You recognize that some things can't be explained, only discerned. There's a reason your path feels different right now, why the ordinary things aren't satisfying, why you feel pulled aside for a greater purpose. It's as if the conductor has lifted the baton, and the orchestra is holding its breath, waiting for the downbeat that will set everything in motion. Every delay you faced, every moment of stillness, every odd sense of being set apart, wasn't wasted time. It was the universe fine-tuning your life for a breakthrough no one else saw coming. This is how God prepares His chosen, quietly, intentionally, often in the places no one else would look. He'll let you feel the wind before it stirs the trees, sense the rain before the first cloud appears. He lets the anticipation build so that, when the moment finally arrives, you're not surprised, you're ready. Maybe you're in that holding pattern right now. Maybe the world seems asleep, but your spirit is restless. Don't despise the waiting. The pressure you feel isn't there to break you, it's there to alert you, to invite you to press in closer, to listen, to watch. You're being positioned not for more of the same, but for something new, something greater, something that will ripple through every area of your life. So, don't rush the process. Don't look for shortcuts. This kind of preparation can't be hurried. Just as the dawn never comes faster for anyone who wishes it, divine timing unfolds at its own pace. Trust that the one who orchestrates the seasons is working behind the scenes, aligning every detail, ready to unveil something beautiful right on schedule. And when that moment comes, when the light breaks and your new day begins, you'll look back and realize that every whisper, every restless night, every unexplained stirring was heaven's way of saying, "Get ready, I'm about to do something only the chosen could sense before it arrived. It's a lot like walking into a room where everyone's settled into their favorite chairs, the furniture arranged just so, and all the clocks ticking in perfect time. Then, without warning, a fresh breeze slips in through a window no one remembers opening. It rattles the papers, stirs the curtains, and makes everyone glance up, a little unsure but suddenly aware that something new is in the air. That's what your presence does to comfort zones and predictable patterns. Your arrival is the change in weather that nobody forecast, but everybody feels. There are people and even unseen forces that thrive on routine, that want life to march along in neat rows. They prefer days that match, outcomes that can be measured, and futures that look a lot like the past. But you weren't shaped for sameness. God didn't design you to blend in or be just another face in the crowd. That's why your story reads like no one else's, why every challenge you faced arrived right on schedule, not as random misfortune, but as part of a sequence only heaven could orchestrate. If you stop and look back, you'll see the pattern, the closed doors that made way for new hallways, the disappointments that were actually divine detours, the setbacks that taught you to listen for God's voice above all others. Each moment felt disconnected at the time, but now, stitched together, they make a tapestry that couldn't have happened by accident. Sometimes it feels like life has been one test after another, as if you were in a classroom where the lesson plan keeps getting changed without notice. You wondered why things didn't go the way they did for others, why your road seemed so winding, why the usual tricks for success didn't work in your hands. But all along, you were being trained in a school only the chosen can attend, a place where spiritual vision is sharpened not by ease, but by endurance. What others call luck, you know, is the fingerprint of grace. No way all those doors could close at just the right time, only for new ones to swing wide when you needed them most, unless someone was guiding the hinges. No way you should have kept advancing, not with the odds stacked and the path blocked, unless a greater plan was at work. You learn not to trust the old maps, but to listen for the still, small voice leading you forward. Some people might be unsettled by your ability to get back up again and again. They don't understand how you keep finding a way through, how setbacks don't stick to you, how even after a storm, you come out with something to show for it. That's because you're not running on ordinary fuel. You've been equipped with a resilience that doesn't come from the world but from the one who called you by name. Looking back, you'll realize none of it was wasted. The chaos, the confusion, the way the pieces just barely fit together, all of it was training. You were learning to see with spiritual eyes, to move with wisdom, to let go of control and lean into trust. The sequence of your story is a signature, a set of fingerprints left by the divine, shaping you into someone who can walk into any room, any situation, and bring a new atmosphere with you. So don't be surprised when life resists your movement or when old systems are rattled by your progress. Don't shrink back just because your journey doesn't look like anybody else's. You weren't meant to fit the mold. You were meant to show what happens when God gets hold of a life and writes a story no man could predict. It's a lot like when a goldsmith puts raw ore into the furnace. At first, everything looks fine, solid, familiar, together. But when the fire heats up, impurities start to rise, and the true metal begins to reveal itself. Sometimes, the flames aren't there to destroy, but to clarify what's precious from what was just along for the ride. Life has a way of heating things up just when you're about to cross into new territory, separating what's meant to last from what can't go with you. What many folks label as betrayal or see as sudden opposition often turns out to be life's way of clearing a path. The old comfort zones, the easy friendships, even the cheerleaders you thought would stay with you forever. When you're called higher, not everyone can breathe the air at your next altitude. Sometimes those closest to you start asking uncomfortable questions right when you're about to leap forward. They want you to play it safe, keep to the old routines, or they offer advice disguised as concern. Are you sure about this? Maybe you should slow down. Why not try it the way everyone else does? It can feel like a cold wind blowing through what used to be a warm room. Suddenly, support gets quiet. The invitations dry up. The circle grows smaller. You wonder what you did wrong, but the truth is you did something right. Your spirit outgrew the space you were in. When you get serious about your calling, the universe gets serious about your company. People who only like the old version of you start to drift away, And their absence isn't punishment, it's preparation. That kind of pruning isn't pleasant, but it's purposeful. Like a tree that must shed some branches to grow stronger, you're being shaped for something greater. The doubt and resistance you face aren't accidents. They're the gentle hands of the master gardener, clearing space so you can stretch toward the light. You might not see it now, but every question, every withdrawal, every raised eyebrow is shaping your backbone, forging a kind of courage that only grows in solitude. Maybe a friend pulled away right when you needed them most, or a colleague suddenly turned cold after years of working side by side. Perhaps a loved one started doubting your dreams just when you were beginning to see the finish line. These aren't random acts of betrayal, they are invitations to trust a voice deeper than approval and stronger than applause. It's as if the divine is saying, "Let me show you who you really are," without the noise, without the crowd, without the comfort blanket. The heat of this refining season doesn't last forever, but while you're in it, everything gets clearer. You begin to discern the difference between people who are with you for the journey and those who were only there for the scenery. Some will quietly step aside, unable to keep pace with the hunger God placed inside you. Others will test your resolve, prodding to see if you'll fold under pressure or press through for the prize. Don't resent these moments, and don't waste energy trying to win back what's leaving. The people who can't handle your fire weren't built for your future. Every disappointment is an open door in disguise. Every unanswered call is an invitation to deeper faith. What looks like subtraction is actually multiplication, God's way of removing the unnecessary so the essential can thrive. You may walk through some lonely valleys, but don't mistake solitude for abandonment. The quiet seasons are when roots grow deepest. What feels like a loss now is making room for the kind of relationships, opportunities, and wisdom that only come to those who dare to keep moving even when applause turns to silence. So if you're being misunderstood, questioned, or even left behind as you chase after what's next, take heart. You're in the fire, but you're not being consumed. You're being refined for the gold on the other side. That's the gift and the glory of the chosen, rising stronger, lighter, and more unstoppable every time the heat is turned up. Facing setbacks at the exact moment you step into your purpose is a lot like trying to bake bread, only to have the oven flicker out just as the dough starts to rise. Everything was prepped, the ingredients measured, the kitchen warm, and then, out of nowhere, the power blinks. You stand there, staring at the silent oven, wondering if all your preparation was for nothing. But the pause isn't the end of the story. Sometimes, the wait is what gives the bread its depth, and sometimes, the technical glitch is what reveals just how determined you are to finish the task. You've probably noticed how, right when your heart is set to deliver something meaningful, maybe a phone call, a presentation, a letter from the heart, something goes haywire. The computer freezes, the call drops, the printer jams, or your words stumble on the way out. People will say it's just bad luck, but if you've been walking this journey long enough, you know there's more going on behind the scenes. It's almost uncanny how life can run smooth as silk until you decide to stand up and speak out. The system purrs along, your plans fall into place, and everything feels as easy as Sunday morning. But the instant you begin moving in the direction of your calling, it's like a series of invisible speed bumps rise up out of nowhere, just enough to slow you down, to make you second-guess, to tempt you to turn back before the breakthrough arrives. These little interruptions aren't just random mischief. They're subtle challenges, a way for the world to ask, do you really believe what you say you believe? Is your confidence rooted in convenience? Or do you trust in something deeper when everything is on the line? It's the universe's way of separating the casual from the committed, of sifting those who are merely curious from those who are truly called. There's purpose even in the pause. Every glitch, every technical mishap, every moment when the lights flicker and the doors jam is an invitation to check your foundation. Are you in this for applause, or for the assignment? Is your hope in the tools, or in the one who provides the opportunity? It's a heart check that can't be faked. You may feel frustrated when your efforts get stalled, especially when you've done everything right and still find yourself up against a wall. But sometimes, those walls aren't meant to stop you, they're meant to slow you long enough to remember why you started. They force you to rely on patience, to deepen your prayers, to find creative ways around the obstacle. It's in those in-between moments, when you're waiting for the system to reboot or for the roadblock to clear, that the most powerful growth can happen. Think about all the times in Scripture where breakthrough came after delay, when the Israelites faced a sea that wouldn't part, or when Paul was shipwrecked on the way to his mission. Those weren't just setbacks, they were setups. God used the detour, the pause, the technical failure to prepare hearts, to clear paths, and to build a faith that couldn't be shaken. So when the machine won't cooperate, or the process grinds to a halt at the worst possible time, don't let your faith shrink. See it as a gentle reminder. Your success doesn't come from flawless systems or perfect timing, but from a trust that has already survived 1,000 other tests. Let those moments become altars, places where you remember, I'm not here because it was easy. I'm here because I refused to give up when the world gave me every reason to walk away. It's a lot like walking through a desert just before sunrise. The world is quiet, the sand cool beneath your feet, but every step is a test of endurance. There are no cheering crowds, no signposts lighting the way, just you and the silence, with only your breath to remind you that you're still moving forward. The hardest stretches aren't marked by drama, but by a kind of invisible weight pressing down on your shoulders, asking you how much farther you're willing to go. There are struggles you'll face that are invisible to everyone else, battles fought behind closed doors, in the quiet places of your mind and spirit. Sometimes, the hardest part of the journey is not what you're doing on the outside, but what's happening inside your heart. You wake up with heaviness, feeling as if a thick blanket has settled over your dreams. The phone doesn't ring. Encouragement doesn't come. There are no quick fixes, only a slow, persistent invitation to keep going. This isn't just regular tiredness, the kind that a nap or a weekend away can cure. It's a spiritual weariness, a deep sense of being stretched, as if life itself is drawing out reserves you didn't know you had. You may wonder if you're broken, or if you've done something wrong. But the truth is, these seasons come not to punish, but to reveal. Destiny calls us not when we're most comfortable, but when we're most empty-handed, so we can finally let go of what was never ours to carry. It's during these silent nights and weary mornings that the soul does its deepest work. Sometimes, God allows the well to run dry so you'll stop dipping into old sources and finally seek the living water He's had waiting for you all along. The weight you feel isn't always the enemy. Sometimes it's the signal that it's time to shed the burdens that don't belong to you, old fears, secondhand expectations, the need to have it all figured out. If you've ever had days when it seemed the harder you tried, the heavier life became, you're not alone. Many of God's chosen have walked through these valleys. Abraham waiting on a promise, Moses wandering through the wilderness, Jesus in the garden wrestling with the weight of what was to come. The greatest victories are always born from moments of quiet surrender, where all you can do is trust that the sunrise is just beyond the horizon. Don't be discouraged by the hidden battles or by the fatigue that doesn't make sense to anyone else. These aren't signs of weakness, they're invitations to strength. Every time you choose to rise one more day, to pray one more prayer, to let go of one more thing that was never truly yours, you reclaim a piece of your original strength. You become lighter, clearer, more attuned to the next step on your path. Sometimes we think we need to do more, try harder, or be stronger, but the lesson of these seasons is just the opposite. They teach us that our real power comes not from holding on, but from letting go. It's in the release, the laying down of every unnecessary burden, that we rediscover the unstoppable force of grace within us. So if you're feeling weary, if you're in a season where the road is long and the night is quiet, know that you're not failing. You're being invited to travel lighter. Life isn't asking you to prove your worth, but to remember it. Destiny is calling you higher, and in the process, you're being freed from everything that was weighing you down. The dawn is coming, and with it, a new strength you didn't know you had. It's a lot like a tree in the heart of spring, shedding old leaves and broken branches to make way for new growth. When the wind stirs, some leaves flutter to the ground, not because they're bad or useless, but because the tree is preparing for a fuller, healthier bloom. In the same way, as your life shifts toward your true calling, the winds of change may shake loose relationships, opinions, or old familiar patterns that can no longer grow where you're heading. When the voices around you get loud, when people start questioning your direction, your choices, even your state of mind, it's not a sign that you've lost your way. It's simply the world reacting to the fact that you're not staying where they thought you'd remain. Growth always makes the familiar uncomfortable. Not everyone is ready to watch you outgrow the version of yourself they were comfortable with. Some folks will question, some will criticize, others will quietly fade into the background. But their reaction isn't a verdict on your worth. It's just the sound of old branches letting go. This is the pruning season, and pruning is a sign of blessing, not punishment. Just as a master gardener trims back a rose bush so it can yield more blossoms, God allows certain relationships, routines, and habits to fall away so that your roots can reach deeper and your fruit can be sweeter. Every time someone leaves your circle, every time an old role falls away, it's making space for something better to grow. The people who can't run at your pace weren't meant to walk the next part of the road with you, and that's all right. What feels like loss is actually preparation for abundance. The empty places in your life are not voids, but open ground for new seeds. The ones who drift away are not taking your destiny with them. They're simply making space for those who can recognize, support, and celebrate the new thing God is doing in and through you. Sometimes, the ones who question your journey now will become the witnesses to your breakthrough later, but for now, their absence is a gift of clarity. You might notice that as the journey continues, your relationships become fewer but richer, your conversations deeper, your support more genuine. Don't fear the narrowing. It's not a narrowing of love, but a focusing of purpose. Like sunlight shining through a magnifying glass, what remains becomes more powerful, more directed, more able to ignite what God has placed in you. And remember, even Jesus had to let go of the crowds to walk with the few who truly understood his mission. Not everyone will celebrate your calling, but those who remain, those who carry the same fire, the same hunger for purpose, will become more than just companions. They'll be your spiritual family for the road ahead. So don't measure your progress by who stays or who goes. Instead, look at the fruit that's beginning to appear in your life. Greater peace, deeper joy, clearer vision, new doors opening where none existed before. That's the sign you're moving in the right direction. The pruning is painful, yes, but it's the proof that you're making room for the harvest that's on its way. It's a lot like a jeweler refining gold, turning up the flame until what's genuine stands out from the dross. If you've ever watched a craftsman at work, you know the gold doesn't complain when the heat rises. It just shines brighter as the impurities melt away. In much the same way, the trials and tests you walk through are not the universe's way of disqualifying you. They're heaven's way of revealing the priceless treasure within you. Most folks see hard times as evidence that something's gone wrong, that God's forgotten, or fate's taken a bad turn. But the truth is, pressure isn't the end of the story, it's the process that gets you ready for a greater assignment. Every time you're pressed, it's like the potter shaping clay on the wheel, not to break it, but to make it strong enough to hold what's coming next. Every doubt that creeps in, every relationship that stretches thin, every unanswered question isn't a sign of abandonment. It's a sign that you're being promoted to a level where the real must be separated from the fake. Just as storms test the strength of a house's foundation, these challenges are checking what you've built your life on. Are you anchored in approval, or are you standing on a promise? Are you chasing the crowd, or are you tuned into the still, small voice that led you this far? It's so easy to look at a season of struggle and see only what's missing. You see the gaps, the delays, the strained connections, and think, maybe I missed it. Maybe I'm not qualified. Maybe I've been left behind. But the very things that feel like loss are making room for discernment to grow. In these moments, you learn to tell the difference between what's real and what only looked real when the sun was shining. You discover that desperation can't take you where discernment is meant to lead you. Instead of letting these pressures push you down, let them lift your eyes. See the promotion in the pressure, the blessing in the burden. Every ounce of resistance is making you more sensitive to the subtle nudges of the Spirit, more able to tell the difference between counterfeit comfort and authentic calling. Where some see a setback, the chosen see a setup, God working behind the scenes, strengthening your resolve, deepening your roots, teaching you to hear His voice above every other. That's why the trials didn't come to bury you, but to reveal you. You're not being left out, you're being singled out for something greater. The fire you're walking through is not the end, but the refining, and what emerges on the other side is a faith, a wisdom, a clarity that can't be shaken by any storm. It's a lot like watching a gardener tend a seed beneath the soil. To the untrained eye, nothing seems to be happening. The earth sits quiet, undisturbed. But below the surface, roots are reaching, gathering strength, anchoring themselves deeper each day. No one celebrates the silent work going on in the darkness, but without it, no blossom would ever break through. In the same way, those seasons when your life appears still, when progress slows and every door seems to stay shut, are not wasted. They are periods of deep preparation, where strength is being gathered and foundations laid strong enough to hold the weight of the blessings to come. Others might look at you and wonder why nothing seems to be moving forward. They might offer advice about pushing harder or question whether you're doing enough. But you know there's more to this story than meets the eye. While the world sees waiting, heaven sees building. While others count the days, the Spirit is counting the layers of faith, wisdom, and resilience growing inside you. Sometimes, it takes stepping back to recognize how many near misses and narrow escapes you've experienced. Times when disaster should have come knocking, but didn't. Moments when you were shielded from what could have broken you, and opportunities seemed to appear just in time. These aren't lucky breaks, they're stitches in a divine tapestry, every thread woven with care by hands you cannot see. When you find yourself in a season that feels stagnant, when prayers seem unanswered and dreams feel distant, don't be fooled by the silence. You are not being overlooked, you're being equipped. The waiting is not punishment, it's protection. Just as a potter waits for the clay to dry before firing it in the kiln, God allows this time for your foundation to solidify. If the blessing arrived before you were ready, it might be swept away. But when the roots run deep, the storm can't topple what's been built in secret. In these hidden seasons, God does His finest work. He arranges circumstances behind the scenes, orchestrates connections you haven't even imagined yet, and fortifies your spirit for the opportunities ahead. Each delay is not a denial, it's a safeguard, a carefully timed pause so nothing, not even forces working out of sight, can take from you what's being prepared. Let the world wonder at your patience. Let them misjudge your stillness. What they can't see is that you are being prepared for something greater, something that will unfold in due season. And when that moment comes, you'll rise not with borrowed strength, but with a confidence rooted in all that has quietly grown beneath the surface. So don't lose heart in the silent places. Trust that every still moment, every uncanny rescue, every not yet, is evidence that you are being kept for a purpose. Nothing can derail what's being built for you, not even what's hidden from your sight. In the fullness of time, the seed that seemed forgotten will break through, and the whole world will see what heaven was growing all along. It's like standing at the edge of a river swollen by the spring thaw. The water runs swift and deep, and the far bank looks almost too distant to reach. Staying where you are seems safe, but deep down you know that if you don't cross now, the current of life will pull you in a direction you were never meant to go. Every heart comes to this turning point, a place where moving forward is the only real option, and playing it small costs far more than taking a step into the unknown. Crossroads aren't marked by flashing lights or road signs, but by a quiet knowing that something greater is required. Sometimes, it feels like every obstacle, every word of doubt, every dismissive look from those who never understood your value was just the world's way of keeping you in your place. But the truth is, the very fact that you've faced such targeted resistance is a sure sign that your life is under observation from a higher realm. You're not just living for the approval of those around you. Your choices are being weighed by the one who set you apart. If you've ever wondered why you keep encountering challenges that don't seem to let up, remember, nobody throws stones at an empty tree. The more fruit you carry, the more likely it is to attract attention. Every obstacle is a measure of your potential, not your limits. The magnitude of the pushback isn't proof of weakness. It's the best evidence you'll ever get that there is something powerful inside you, something worth resisting, something that threatens the comfort of the status quo. God doesn't put precious cargo on a ship built to sail still waters. He chooses vessels that can handle the storm, that can navigate through turbulence and come out stronger on the other side. Every challenge, every game, every moment you felt unseen or underestimated has been a test, a way to prove to heaven and to yourself that you have the capacity to shape what's next. This is the season where you decide what kind of legacy you'll leave. Will you shrink back, holding on to safety and comfort, or will you step out, trusting that the very resistance you've endured was meant to build your faith, sharpen your vision, and make your arrival on the far bank all the sweeter? Don't let the difficulty of the crossing blind you to the promise waiting on the other side. You're not standing at the crossroads by accident. The eyes of heaven are on you, not to criticize, but to cheer you on. All that you've been through, all that's pressed against you, is a sign that you are chosen for a bigger story than you imagined. It's your willingness to step out, even when it's hard, that sets the stage for everything that's about to unfold. So take a breath, fix your eyes on the horizon, and step forward with the confidence that what's ahead is worth every risk you take. The river may be wild, the journey uncertain, but the same God who brought you to this crossroads will see you safely across. What lies before you is not just survival, but the beginning of something that will touch far more lives than your own. The moment will come, maybe quietly, maybe with fanfare, when you will be asked not to blend in, but to stand in the fullness of what has been tested and forged within you. The question is not whether you are qualified, but whether you are willing. For everything up to this point has been a masterclass in resilience, designed to remind you that you were never meant to shrink for the comfort of others. The proof of your significance isn't in how many stood against you, but in the simple, unbreakable fact that, against every odd, you are still standing, ready to shape the very story that others tried to write for you.